Picture this for a second. You're facing a massive, life-altering legal challenge. You've spent weeks agonizing over finding the right representation. You finally hand over a huge retainer, and you put your absolute trust, maybe even your freedom or your life savings, into the hands of a professional. But what if the person you just hired literally isn't allowed to practice law? What if they've been secretly suspended or even completely disbarred? It is a terrifying thought, but honestly, it happens way more often than you might think.
So, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to dive into some incredible resources that'll help you build an investigative toolkit. We want to empower you so you never fall victim to that exact nightmare scenario. Together, we're going to walk through the essential, step-by-step process of verifying an attorney's credentials, specifically right here in Minnesota.
Here's a quick look at our roadmap. We'll cover the high stakes of legal representation, how to protect yourself, navigating those official state systems, decoding the search results, building your protective shield, and then wrapping it all up. Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, the high stakes of legal representation and why verification matters so much. Moving right along to Section 2, protecting yourself. Let's talk about why checking a bar status is absolutely crucial. Look, we live in an age where anyone can spin up a flashy, super professional-looking website in an afternoon. You just can't blindly trust a nice web page or a fancy office lobby with leather chairs. Knowing your attorney's actual verified standing is your very first line of defense. It's not just some bureaucratic formality. It's a critical consumer protection step. So why verify? Well, first off, we need to ensure they actually have an active state license. But beyond that, checking gives us a crystal clear picture of their disciplinary history. And our sources show these issues can range from something minor, like forgetting to pay a late fee, all the way to really serious misconduct. Doing this check helps us determine how serious any past complaints actually were, and most importantly, keeps us far away from legal scams and unlicensed practice. Section 3, navigating the systems. Let's get into the actual process of checking a bar status in Minnesota. All right, so to build our toolkit, we have to use the official state databases. Now, Minnesota actually splits its tracking across different organizations, which honestly can trip up even the most diligent person. The key here is understanding the difference between two big acronyms, MARS and the OLPR. Think of MARS, the Minnesota Attorney Registration System, as your go-to for administrative stuff. Have they paid their fees? Are they keeping up with their continuing education? Stuff like that. On the flip side, we have the OLPR, the Office of Lawyers' Professional Responsibility. These are the folks who actually investigate allegations of misconduct and enforce the rules. If an attorney crosses an ethical line, the OLPR steps in. You absolutely need to know how to check both. So let's walk through exactly how to check MARS. First, you'll visit the Minnesota Lawyer Registration Office website. From there, you just open up the MARS database portal, which is totally public, by the way. Step 3, type in the attorney's name or their unique license number if you happen to have it. And finally, Step 4, check out those results. This database gives you real-time administrative details. You'll see their current licensure status, their official public address, when they were admitted to practice, their continuing legal education or CLE category, and even who their professional liability insurance carrier is. But hold on, because MARS is really only half the picture. To see if an attorney has any actual ethical marks on their record, we've got to run a second check. You need to visit the Lawyers' Professional Responsibility Board's website, which is tied to that OLPR we talked about. Right there, you'll use their specific lawyer search function to look for any past public discipline records. It is a completely vital second step that too many people just skip over. Section 4, decoding the search results, or as I like to call it, understanding the jargon. Okay, this is where it gets a little confusing. You run the search, pull up a record, and bam, you're hit with a wall of complex legal jargon. What does it actually mean? Let's decode the MARS administrative statuses. If you see authorized, you are golden. That's the green light, they're in active status, fees are paid, everything is good. If you see not authorized, they might actually still be in good standing, but they're on an inactive, retired, or maybe disabled status. The crucial takeaway, they cannot currently practice law in Minnesota. And then there's CLE involuntary restricted. This is wild. It means a lawyer is literally barred from practicing by a court order simply because they skipped their mandatory continuing education classes. Can you imagine your trial getting completely derailed just because your lawyer forgot to do their homework? There's also a voluntary restricted version of this, which just means the attorney opted out of the classes on their own. Now let's look at a few of the heavier statuses, especially when checking disciplinary records.
Fee-exempt disabled just means the attorney meets Rule 8 disability requirements. They're inactive for a totally valid medical reason, not because they did something wrong. But if you ever see suspended or disbarred, massive alarm bells should be ringing in your head. Whether it's the state system or the federal district courts, an attorney with these statuses is strictly prohibited from practicing law. Under absolutely no circumstances should they be taking your case or touching your money. Section 5. Building your shield. Let's talk about alternative resources and some common pitfalls.
Beyond those official databases, we need to build a comprehensive shield around you before you sign any contracts. The databases give us the cold, hard facts, sure, but we also have to evaluate the human element. We highly recommend using FindLaw's 4 C's to round out your search. First up, comfort level. Are they actually easy to talk to? Do they genuinely seem to care about solving your problem? Second, credentials. How many years have they actually been practicing? Third, cost. Are we talking an hourly rate or a flat fee? Can they give you a solid estimate? And finally, city. Is their office in a convenient enough location for you to actually go meet them when you need to? You know, it's really empowering to remember that you are the one doing the hiring. Act like an investigator during that first consultation. Don't be shy about asking really direct questions like, how long have you been in practice? Or how many cases exactly like mine have you handled? Ask them, how often do you actually settle out of court versus going all the way to trial? And what exactly are your fees going to look like? A reputable attorney, one who's in good standing, is going to welcome these questions and answer them with total transparency.
Now, I want to highlight a really major pitfall you've got to watch out for. Sometimes people search that OLPR database for a legal professional they're having an issue with, they find 0 records, and they just assume that person's in the clear. But remember, the OLPR has a very strict jurisdiction. They only investigate lawyers licensed in Minnesota. They have absolutely 0 power over judges, acting as judges, police officers, paralegals, guardians ad litem, or everyday laypeople. You have to make sure you're searching for the right professional in the right database, otherwise you're going to get a false sense of security.
And that brings us to Section 6, wrapping up with a final review and our professional disclaimer.
As we wrap up this explainer, let's cover our own legal basis for a second. Please remember that while we've put together a really detailed guide based on official Minnesota records, this is meant to be comprehensive educational information. You absolutely must always consult those official state sources, like MARS and the LPRB directly, or seek out independent legal counsel for specific guidance tailored to your exact situation. So we've seen just how incredibly easy it is for an attorney's status to slip into something like involuntary restricted or worse. Given the immense, literally life-altering power an attorney holds over your future, your money, and your freedom, the next time you need representation, will you take just 5 minutes to verify their credentials before you sign on the dotted line? Seriously, don't leave your fate to chance. Thanks for diving into these systems with me today on this explainer. Stay informed and always protect yourself first.